Hi, I'm Ling and I do a lot of art and photography. I've been slowly turning my whole apartment into a home art studio, and it really feels like the most creative and calm space now. It's definitely one of the most grounding parts of my life, and to be honest, things have been feeling a little bit out of balance recently. I've been taking on a lot of art and photography projects that I've always wanted to do and I'm so excited about, but I'm also trying to balance them all alongside an office job, and I think I'm having to start to question whether that's sustainable to keep doing, or if I'm going to have to reevaluate my life and maybe make some bigger changes. But no matter what else is going on, I always feel like my home is such a reflection of how I want life to be. And there are so many parts of it that have turned into daily rituals that I'd love to spend more of my time and energy on. So there are two changes that I feel like I'm really ready to make, and I'd love to share the process of them with you. The first one is continuing to paint, because I recently finished my very first painting this year and I have so many new ones planned. The second plan involves painting, but will probably take a lot longer because I would really love to make a whole collection of homewares. It's something that's already such a huge part of my life and I can only see it expanding, so I thought I could share the whole process with you from start to finish. We're definitely in the very early stages and just coming up with ideas at the moment, but I've already reached out to my friend Sarah who makes ceramics, and we're going to be making a whole collection together. So I mentioned a few of Sarah's ceramic pieces in a video about my home art studio, but we can chat more about the plan today. When I first met her a few years ago, we were actually both working in a law firm. She was doing a lot of resin art and I was editing a book at the time, so I asked her if she could create the cover for it. This feels like such a long time ago now, and I can't tell you how much both of our styles have changed. We're also living in different countries at the moment, but we call a lot and have shared so many ideas over the last few weeks. The main one is to make a collection of homewares together that's grounded in our Chinese and Korean roots. While we've been talking, it's become very clear that we're both drawn to a lot of symbols that feel very traditional, things like the moon, clouds, the sea, and cranes. We both love flowers like the iris, orchid, and lotus. We've been experimenting with different kinds of knots and also wanting to use name stamps in our own pieces. It really makes sense that we love similar things because we're probably also drawing from similar sources of inspiration. Art in China and Korea has been connected over many dynasties, and they share a lot of the same influences. So many practices have been passed between the two, like Chinese ink painting and Korean ceramic designs. I spent some time in both countries and have found so much inspiration. In China, the most uplifting thing that I picked up was my own name stamp. I've introduced myself as Ling since I was around 10 years old. I think I must have thought it was a really cool nickname at the time, and also a lot of people do mispronounce Mei Ling, but everyone in my family shares the same character for Ling, and obviously to them I've always been Mei Ling. Having this stamp just feels like a meaningful way to reset my art practice and use my full name on everything that I make now. I also spent some time in Korea and took so much inspiration from ancient parts of the cities, as well as all of the natural landscapes. We've arrived in Seoul and I already love this city in the mountains. It's been raining for a few days, but it's actually been a really cozy introduction because we've spent a lot of time in art galleries and tea houses. Seoul is also surrounded by so many mountain ranges, and we're going to spend the next week hiking in Bukhansan and Seolsan National Park. I brought back some pottery from Korea, like these mugs and celadon vase, and they really made me think about a new painting that I could make with this color, so I started mapping out the design with pencil. When I talked to Sarah about it, she had also been testing out different glazes with celadon, which has been so influential in Chinese and Korean ceramics, going as far back as the Tang Dynasty. I think we both have a very clear vision for how things could all fit together into one collection, so we just kept experimenting separately on a few different designs. On my side, I started making fragrances and painting. We can start with the fragrances first, which I'm making into scented candles. I put so much thought into scents that feel really familiar, maybe from things that I grew up with, and I started looking for fragrance oils that reminded me of them. At first I just had a few fragrance oils, but I've started collecting quite a lot because I really want to try as many different brands and combinations as possible. I've sorted them all into categories and started coming up with different themes. I've never tried making candles before this, and it turns out that I get really dizzy after trying a few different scents. So when I say that I've been making candles, I really mean that Jace and my sister have been making candles for me based on the ideas that we have. Over the last few weeks, we've tested about 6 main ideas in around 20 different combinations. The hardest ones have actually been ones that I thought I had the strongest ideas for, which just didn't come out as I imagined. One is going to be based on Jeju Island with a combination of citrus and sea salt, but we just haven't gotten it quite right yet. It's also a lot of personal preference, so we've had so many friends and family testing them out for us. One of the most popular ones is a candle that I'm calling Mid-Autumn, like the Harvest Moon Festival, which is a mix of some really surprising scents like ginger, cinnamon, and magnolia. We've made this one in a few different strengths, and so far every group of friends has preferred the strongest one. My favorite ones have been quite simple combinations of black tea, which I'm calling Cha and Moonrise for now. All of the names can change as we go, and we also don't have a brand name yet, but I've started seeing how they all sound together. The next big things that I've been working on are paintings for the collection. I was really inspired by Chinese silk screens and always love how the natural fiber shows through the ink. So when I looked for canvases, I decided to get natural primed linen and come up with a style that would keep the texture as part of the artwork. The first painting was something that I've been planning to do for so many years. I actually drew this very first mock-up about 2 years ago, and for some reason I've just been putting it off for this long. But I was sitting in my apartment one morning looking at Sarah's ceramics, and I realized that the green glaze she'd used was exactly what I was planning for my own piece. The painting is very inspired by the Li River near Yangshuo in China. The area is so important to me, and I'm really happy with how it came out. I decided to call this painting YULI, and I hope it captures the inner energy that you have for creative pursuits. This first design was also the very first oil painting that I've ever done. I filmed the whole thing from start to finish, and I can link that video here in case you want to see more of the process. I also started designing more paintings in the collection, and I've made a bit of progress on the next one of the sea. We have so many ideas for this collection, but I thought I could start by showing you the very first pieces of pottery that Sarah made, and hopefully you can see why I thought they were so consistent with my own ideas. I think we're drawing on really natural textures and a lot of very similar colors and themes. But Sarah brought her pottery over in the most casual way, and I actually can't believe it now that I've seen it. I live in Sydney and she lives in London, so on her last trip to Australia, she really casually told me that she was packing a few pieces of pottery that she'd been trying out. And I wish you could see these in person because they are so good and needed a much bigger introduction in my opinion. But the first pieces are these bowls which have little grooves for chopsticks to be rested on. They have the most beautiful green glaze, and we use these all the time for rice. The second piece is this moon vase, which is done in a traditional Korean style, and these we usually put in a very prominent place around the home, and I just feel so lucky to own this and to be able to have it on display. Over the last few weeks, we've also talked about different styles that we could use for moon vases, and I know she's been experimenting with some other designs and different types of glazes. So in a few weeks, I'll have the chance to look at everything that she's been making over the last few months, and I'll also be able to show her the candles and painting when she comes. The best thing about making ceramics with Sarah, or I guess the best thing about Sarah making ceramics, is that it seems like anything is possible. Anytime I have a new idea, like making lanterns out of porcelain, she's really open to trying it because she spent so much time experimenting. She's also been making so many other things in London, like mugs, incense holders, and moon vases in different styles and glazes, and I'll get the chance to see them properly in a few weeks on her next trip back to Australia. I realized that at the start of this video, I said I was having trouble balancing everything that I had on, and then I went straight into starting a whole new project, but I think that's been part of my reflections recently. It's not like I've been doing anything that I don't enjoy, and technically I've had a really good balance so far with my current job, but I think that it's more that I want to expand on the things that I really love, and I feel ready to do that. It's always such an uncomfortable feeling to decide that you need to make change, but I think the fact that I'm even thinking about it must be pushing me in the right direction. And I know that I can always make things without any expectation and just see where this process goes. So far, it has been really uplifting to create things that feel so meaningful and aligned. If you watch this, thank you so much for spending this time here. It would be great if you could subscribe to this channel for more art. I'll be able to share so much more progress from these homewares very soon, and in the meantime, I hope it's been a nice place to just relax and unwind.